Audio.etc. is proudly supported by Auto Sound and Security. Good morning guys, how's it going? James here from Audio.etc. Continuing on the Audi A4 today. I really want to get the front speakers completely done today. A couple videos ago I did the woofer in the front left, figured out, that took me a while, but I figured out how to do that. Today I'm working on the crossover, finding a solution for that, and then obviously going onto the driver's door, and that shouldn't take me too long since I'll have already done the passenger's one completely. The tweeter I did the other night, I just held it in with a bit of silicone. You can see it there, just put in the factory location, sitting level, and then smart TV behind it. So for the crossovers, what I've figured out, down here is the best place I can sort of find. But before there was a whole bunch of raised up plastic sort of in the way here, so there were these bits that were sticking up, and there was this big bubble thing. So I've used the power file and just taken some of the plastic out there, and I've also filed away at the side of this because there was just a bit of a width issue. And what I've also done is copied the shape of the Focal crossovers to a couple of bits of, I'd say 6mm MDF. Basically what I'm going to do is these little panels, I'm going to use a whole bunch of RTV to hold them down there so that I can then just screw the crossovers onto them so that they're still removable. That's what I'm doing now, but I'm going to do it with the crossover on it so that I get it in the right place and it doesn't end up being an issue. So this just sort of goes down in here, and I'm going to have it about that far along there, because there it's sitting level and doesn't rock at all. I could have taken this whole locator thing off, but I tried to avoid doing that. And there is now, with that section that I've filed out there, just enough room for this to slide down there. And there's definitely enough room for me to get wires in and out. Like, even though it's really close, I'll still be able to get my wires out of those input holes there. Won't be a problem. If needed, I can even, you know, come out this wide side and that wide side. And then there's the outputs for the woofer and tweeter there. So that's what I'm doing today. I'll start by gluing this down and running and tester taping the tweeter wire all the way to the crossover. And then what I'm also going to do is on the door side, there's one of these clips which plugs into the woofer. I'm not going to use this one because this is just real thin wires, but the one on the door which has thick wires, I'm going to cut that off, solder it to some thick wires, some 15 gauge Focal wire, run it from the crossover along to here, and then it can just plug in to power the woofer. And then the only other thing I need is a connector to connect the input side of the crossover to the to some wires in the door, which I have to run through because I'm not using the factory wiring. I'm running new 15 gauge wiring from the amp to the crossovers and then to the speakers. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today, trying to get it done. By the way, I just copied this shape with the flush trim router bit. Works every time, so that's why it's the exact same shape. So I need my RTV. Oh no, just spilt coffee everywhere. Okay, so the high points under here are going to be obviously around here, here, these things, that, here, here. So I'm probably just going to put some dabs on them and then smush it down. Yeah, got that much time. Yeah, there. So that. It's going to go there. Yep, that'll do. There we go, so that's down. I'm going to leave the crossover in place because that's going to be what's holding the little board in the right place. And that's going to dry probably by the end of the day. What I can do now is my tweeter wire, my woofer wire, and my input wire. So here's my tweeter wire. I'm going to solder some more thick wire, probably like 16 gauge wire, onto here. It's going to come down and connect onto the factory loom, be tester taped all the way along here and go into the input side. So got some of this stuff. There's the head off the woofer, which is going to plug in and give the woofer power. And I've also just had a quick look and I figured out that I'm actually going to have to use the factory wiring that's going, original wiring going through the door grommet into the door, because on the car side of the grommet there's a really complex plastic plug that I can't get any extra wires through. So I'm going to have to basically just use the factory wiring for a small section where it goes from the kick panel or somewhere through the door grommet and into the door, and then I'll reconnect on with some decent wiring at both ends. Sometimes that happens. It's more typical with European cars where everything's, you know, unpluggable and built quite well, but that's just the way of life, I guess. sometimes you just can't do it all. So this stuff is what I'm going to use for my tweeter, because I don't need 15 gauge for the tweeter. Okay, there we go guys, got the door done. So tweeter wire runs down and along all the way to the crossover. Obviously the woofer and the input wires run along with the factory loom and out to here. So this one will be the woofer wire that'll plug in. This one originally went up to the factory tweeter wire that goes there. I will plug that in just as a nice way to kind of keep it managed so that this can't be rattling or anything. It'll be plugged in, the wires don't go anywhere anyway. And then this is the input wire for the crossover, and I haven't figured out how I want to do a connection yet. I might just use some bullet crimps like I usually do, and then that'll plug into the wires on the door. This is screwed to the panel underneath it. The panel has RTV underneath it, and I also actually ended up drilling through just a very just through the first layer of plastic on the door, not the whole way through the door. There's two layers. There's like this surface and then there's the outer surface, and I managed to get screws through the crossover wood and into the plastic as well, so it's holding it there pretty well. And then last thing I need to do is just pop that in there, and I replaced all of the duct tape the whole way along, which holds the wires down inside the locators that are along here. So yeah, it's all done, nicely tested taped so that it's not going to rattle, loomed with the factory. Good to go. I just need to give it a blast with the air to get all of the plastic dust out of it because of all the filing I did around here. Ooh, and this goes on there. Sweet. So that's where the door card goes when the door is closed. See, now this is what I was talking about before. See this great big plug in here? Because of this big plastic plug and this being all housed off, I can't unfortunately get any extra speaker wires through them and into the car. So I'm just going to use the factory speaker wires, these ones here, which are already pretty thick. They're at least 16 or maybe 17 gauge. They're at least sort of 10 amp. They'll only go from here to the inside of the car where I'll chop them and connect on with that 15 gauge and run back to the amplifier. But I will just have to use the factory connection for this point. And so basically that's these wires here, the input for the crossover, will get connected with some disconnectors or crimps or something onto these wires. These two will plug into the woofer here. One of them will be supplying power to the woofer. The other one goes to the original tweeter wires, which are taped up and don't go anywhere anyway. But as I said, the only reason I plug it in is just so that it's all managed and tidy, you know. And then obviously that one there does the window control and stuff, and also does lights. Like there's a light up here, there's a light down here, a light there, lots of lights. So yeah, there you go guys, I've done the connection. I've just used a couple of crimps on each side to plug the factory wires onto the input side of the crossover. And then, as I said, once I've put this back together, I'll be able to once I'm doing the wires, I'll be able to find these wires inside the car, cut them, and splice some more 16 or 15 gauge onto them and run them to the amp. That just goes in there to help sort of locate it. This thing plugs in the bottom of that for the window module. It doesn't quite reach at the moment, but when I put the door card back on the door, it will. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, that's the passenger's door done. Everything's lined up nice. Strangely, these lights aren't turning on. The ones on the driver's door are, but there's no way it's a plug that I haven't plugged in, because it's just that one plug that does the window and those. So either the bulbs are blown or there's some other reason in the car's computer why they're not turning on. Because the driver's ones are on, I'm pretty sure. Customer did mention that whoever owned this car last put a whole bunch of LEDs throughout the car that he doesn't like, and sounds like they didn't do a very good job of wiring a lot of them up. Let me pop test the speaker. Speaker's working. Cool, that door's done. Right guys, so now what I want to do is the driver's door. Want to power through and bang that out. I'm just going to do one great big long time lapse and try and get that done, and then maybe I can move on to the rear speakers. I wonder if the rear speakers have plastic plugs in their grommets as well. Oh, I think they might. I think the rear speakers have plastic plugs in the grommets as well, which means that I'll have to... Ooh, but these rear speakers have amplifiers on them. Not sure what I'm going to do there, because these have amplifiers on the speakers, which means that the wires going to them are thin. Don't know. I'll tackle that, cross that bridge when I come to it, but that could be an issue. You can see these flickering lights he was asking me about. There it goes. Lock doesn't work, probably because the doors are open. Oh, the window lock button has been jammed down. How? But that's stuck down. Does the window mirror thing work? Yep, that works. The left wing mirror doesn't fold in. Okay, but the driver's one does. That's weird. Something wrong with it. Okay, cool. I can take this off with this LED. Right guys, that's where I have to end it because it's getting late. Yet another hiccup with the Audi. Contrary to what two of our suppliers, like the catalogs and online suppliers, say about this year of Audi A4, and what I could tell from looking through the grille, it doesn't have 5 1/4 in the back. It's got the same massive 6 1/2s. And I just had another chat with our suppliers. There aren't any plastic pods available. This one may have to be butchered as well to get the 6 1/2s that we've got on the way in. But I don't know how I'm gonna, or how Grant or I am gonna secure them, because those were the only 2 of those metal rings I have. I don't know, it's possibly something I may not even get to do because I'm probably not here next week. Grant might have to do them. But that's where I'm going to leave today. I got the front speakers completely finished, so they're ready to go and be wired up to. The rest of the week I'm going to try and spend on doing the subwoofer and amp. So tomorrow I think I will try and get the subwoofer mounted. That'll be a good thing to get done, and then work on the amp from there on. Also, sorry about the late upload or publish or whatever with the last video. It was really big, took my computer a long time to export, and by the time I got a chance to upload it I was already here, like at work, so it kind of delays it by a whole 24-hour period. So sorry about that, but thank you guys again for watching today's video. Choose to be happy, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Kite Ano.